Well, let's go live to Jerusalem now. Joining me is Norwegian Refugee Council Communications Advisor, Shaina. Shaina is Jewish and has long expressed concerns over Israel's treatment of Palestinians. So I thank you for your time. We just heard there from an international war crimes expert. We've had developments overnight, I think a really significant one. Israel saying it has deliberately bombed the largest refugee camp in Gaza. What is your immediate reaction to that?
I mean, I can't, just as your expert right before me said, it's impossible to determine the legality of this strike. But what I do know is that the loss of civilians throughout Gaza over the last 25 days or so has just been devastating to Palestinians throughout Gaza, Palestinians in the West Bank watching on. We are seeing tremendous loss of civilian life. Members of the Norwegian Refugee Council have lost their own family members, including one of our colleagues who lost her only child 2 weeks ago in an airstrike on Rafah. It seems that the civilian toll is only growing over these last 3.5 weeks, and we need a ceasefire. We need to put an end to this killing. We need to stop this devastation.
Yeah, how does that work in your view? Because we heard from Benjamin Netanyahu just 24 hours ago, Shaina, that that would amount to backing down and letting Hamas win. If I could ask you about the general support within Israel of that statement from Benjamin Netanyahu, can you give us a kind of sense of the kind of support Benjamin Netanyahu has for his actions at the moment?
You know, I really can't speak to that. I work in East Jerusalem. I work for an organization that only works in the occupied Palestinian territory. I think that it at this point, it shouldn't be about public opinion. It should be about protection of civilian lives and doing what's in the best interest of Israelis and Palestinians to work towards a future in which both parties can live, in both societies, both peoples can live in peace and security. And right now, Palestinians living in Gaza have no security. There's no safe place in Gaza. There's no place for them to seek shelter. There's no way for parents to protect their own children from the onslaught of bombardment that's happening there. And I think regardless of what politicians might be saying, we have a responsibility as humanitarians. The international community has a responsibility to put an end to this bloodshed, to resolve things. We see that there's a humanitarian catastrophe happening before our eyes. Humanitarians such as my colleagues at the Norwegian Refugee Council cannot safely respond to this crisis so long as there's ongoing hostilities. And so we need a ceasefire, or at the very least, a humanitarian pause so that some relief can be provided to the 2.3 million civilians living in Gaza.
Yeah, just a temporary ceasefire. I mean, that would be a good first step. But what do you make of Egypt as well? Unwilling and, they say, unable to take any refugees from Gaza.
You know, the refugee issue is a complicated one. Of course, any Palestinians that are trying to flee for their safety and security should be able to do so. However, Palestinians have a 75-year history of displacement, and over 70% of Palestinians in Gaza are themselves refugees or the descendants of refugees from 1948. And so Palestinians do not want to be leaving Gaza for the most part, because they are afraid that if they leave, they will not be able to return home to their land, to their homeland. And so were Palestinians to leave, they need a guarantee from third states, from the international community, that they would be repatriated and would be allowed to return once hostilities end.
Well, thanks so much for your time today. Let's keep in touch. We'll talk to you soon. It's just gone midnight there in Jerusalem, so Shaina is staying up for us there. Really interesting perspectives there from our international experts, and of course Shaina being someone who represents refugees.